Welcome back. This is Chicken Philosophy, the Meccan Revelations, part 77, in which I will pick up right where Edward left off in part 76. And this is, of course, you see the square? If you don't see the whole square, maximize your screen by clicking right there. This is a yellow and green episode, and thus it is the 15th of the cycle of 15.
Hey, BT.
Oh, hey, Pymander.
Hey, what's going on?
Just wrapping up the metaphorical 15.
You're doing the 15th of 15, the green and yellow episode?
Exactly.
Sweet.
And you, what are you up to?
I just finished reading one of my favorite lectures of Eihei Dogen, the man who brought Zen to Japan. It's called Uji, or Existence Time.
Oh, that's a good one.
Isn't it? So we just read that. So it just came out probably yesterday or the day before from the perspective of the people who are watching you, or if they watch it as soon as it comes out, you know, that whole thing. But to cut short, it's here. There it is. It's Zen Buddhism Part 18, and you don't want to miss it. It's all about the now and time.
Thank you for sharing, but don't click away. I'll put it in the end screen, so you can click on it then.
All right. Have fun with your Sufi stuff.
I will certainly do my best. Thank you for stopping by. Always a joy to see my present incarnation. If you're familiar with all the lore, I won't go into it right now. Cheers. Today's beverage is lavender tea. Oh, what day is it? Tuesday? So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, day 11, back on the wagon. Which wagon? The no stimulants wagon. No caffeine, no nicotine. So, woo! Still, you know, like some minor background noise, like, but 98% just enjoying this feeling of, oh, I have extra energy. I have a certain... Well, anyway, I won't... I'm supposed to... What did the I Ching say last time? Quiet self-discipline. Self-discipline. That was... so, you know, not out loud self-discipline, because then people who aren't exerting self-discipline feel like they're subtly being judged or something. Oh, I mean, that's probably not the reason why the ancient Chinese folks... Never mind. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how universal some of the things that we take for granted today are, or, you know, or if they're a relatively recent phenomenon. No, I think some things are universal. It's just, you know, everybody got conditioned. Anyway, never mind. So, okay, now we're going to do, we're going to flip, we're going to roll the dice. I'll roll it here where you can see it. Let's shake it up first. Blow on it. And... you can see that's a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So our incense today is Oud Samarkand. Right? Yes. Which, of course, is in, that's right, Uzbekistan. I'm assuming that you all said Uzbekistan. And, if I recall correctly, it smells lovely. I did not light the candle, so... I was not entirely prepared today, but that's okay. So, the Metaphorical 15. This is the last episode of the Metaphorical 15. That's the playlist called the Metaphorical 15, of which this is the 15th episode. And whenever I complete a cycle of 15, I make what I call a Cycle of 15 compilation video, which is a super catchy name, so that people immediately go, oh, what's that? I'll click on it. No, the opposite of that. It's only for the people who are already quite familiar with chicken philosophy. I mean, maybe people will stumble into it. Yeah, the titles are things like the Metaphorical 15 or the Gilgamesh 15. That was a while ago. But, yeah, so... you know, the process has been evolving. For a while, I was just naming it the November of 2024 15 or whatever, you know. But then, you know, there was one particular weekend or whenever it was where we were somewhere, we were staying somewhere, and I wasn't shooting chicken philosophy for that period of time. So instead of that, I obsessively started going back and filling in the gaps where I hadn't made Cycle of 15 compilation videos. And then as I was making them, it was occurring to me, oh, this one, Gilgamesh, keeps coming back, though they used his ancient name, which I forget. Because Carl Jung was doing his Gilgamesh thing where he put Gilgamesh in his pocket and made Gilgamesh admit he was a fantasy so he could get him medicine because he had killed him by telling him the earth goes around the sun. Carl Jung stuff, you know. Anyway, so I called that the Gilgamesh 15. And then there was one where, you know, there was Fantastic Planet, or Le Planète Sauvage. It's been a while since I took French in high school, which, never mind. I never really fluently spoke it. What am I talking about? So, yeah, and then also L'Homme Sauvage was a musical guest in that one, so I called it Les Sauvages Cans. Cans is 15, or approximately. I mean, an approximate speaking of it. Anyway, so then I decided not to name it until the end. And then, so the previous one before this was the one where I started harping on, you know, finding immortality in the dissolution of separate self. And, you know, I kept coming back to that. I try not to as often. Actually, Pymander did yesterday on Existence Time, briefly, but he got over it. And so I called it the Immortal 15, just like that. But the compilation video was all about masturbation. I'll just go ahead and link you to that, so you can check out that's the compilation video right before this compilation video. And by the way, okay, I don't know if I'm just off the cuff here, so whatever. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So then this time I started actually putting together the compilation video as I was going. So partly because we did the 2 full years of the chicken wheel. That might be the 5th and final of the links I can put up, which is unfortunate because I was going to link you to the Metaphorical 15 compilation, but we'll just have to settle for that being at the end. So up here it's going to be Pymander's thing yesterday, Existence Time, which I do recommend. Down here is going to be the Cycle of 15 compilation video called the Metaphorical 15, which is a shorter video. I think it's 35 minutes, something like that. I mean shorter. It's not 6.5 hours long. The 2 full years of the chicken wheel was all the Cycle of 15 compilation videos back to back. So it's like, I don't know, 100 hours of chicken philosophy distilled down to a mere 6.5 hours. So you can kind of get the gist of the past 2 years of chicken philosophy just in one simple, you know, Lord of the Rings trilogy length. No, I think it might be a little longer, but you know what I mean. 6.5 hours. It's about a TV show these days where it comes out. It's got 6 episodes and they're each an hour long and that kind of thing. So if you want to do that, then check that out. Anyway, I always go on about the Cycle of 15 and ending the Cycle of 15 because for me it's exciting. It's a big day. And so anyway, yeah, as I was putting it together, I was realizing that I kept going back to metaphors and Christianity as a beautiful metaphor, or as long as you realize it's a metaphor, or, you know, letters and things like that, and symbols and everything kept revolving around the idea of metaphors. And so I decided to name it the Metaphorical 15, but I named it after we had only made like 6 or 7 of the 15. So anyway, so now we're wrapping up the Metaphorical 15, and I don't know what the next one's going to be. And I think I like the formula that we've arrived at this time around, where I make it as I go, kind of fill it in as I go, and then name it a name starts to reveal itself, just like that. All right, let's get to it. We've got our Samarkand incense, we've got our lavender, and so the next thing we do here is we do some Hafiz bibliomancy. Editor Edward, what are we listening to?
It's an Italian band called Colosso. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. The album is called Over. The track that just began is called Ghost Dogs.
Cool. Thank you. Thought I'd call attention to the music. I don't know what he just said. I don't know what music is playing. All right. The Vintage Man. The difference between a good artist and a great one is the novice will often lay down his tool or brush, then pick up an invisible club on the mind's table and helplessly smash the easels and jade. Whereas the vintage man no longer hurts himself or anyone and keeps on sculpting light. Very interesting, very interesting. And it calls to mind how, so those who have been around a while have heard me make reference to we started making, like, for example, YouTube videos in late 2006, and then in November 2007 had this crisis sort of experience where we deleted everything, deleted all the YouTube videos, and some 300 videos didn't survive that. So I was making a ton videos, like 4 or 5 videos a day, just stupid, short, weird, messing around with the camera kind of thing, and they're all gone. And then again, for 10 years, the red hat period, you might call it, so all of those got deleted as well, but we had backup copies of most of it, and so I was able to kind of put them back up, and there were some things that did survive that. So then, 2017 was another new beginning, but I was able to bring in some of the pieces that had been lost from purging everything. That's taking the club and beating the whatever. Never mind. So since then, I haven't done any big purge or deletion of my art. So I think that's good. I think that's one kind of way that particular poem, if I take it literally, not metaphorically, talking about artists, although metaphorical club, that's good. Is it? I don't know. Whatever. The Vintage Man. All right. I'll own that. Okay, so let's see where this goes. We're finally getting to the Ibn Arabi. We got to it last time. So now we're in the Ibn Arabi. We're reading we got through the introduction, and now we're picking up right where we left off last time. Cases of contradictory verses, or hadiths. When two verses, or two authentic traditions, contradict one another, but it is still possible to set them side by side and use them together. And by the way, of course, we're probably talking about two Abrahamic traditions. Thank you, Abe. It's always good to see your face, except when you're metaphorically representing Abraham, who you're named after, then it's a little less so. It's, no, okay, I'm just kidding. Continuing, anyway, we should not refuse to use them. Thank you, Ibn Arabi. Right? I mean, that includes everything within that family. Wouldn't that be a weird... if everybody woke up tomorrow and was like, you know what? Christian, Jewish, Muslim, it's all basically the same. Let's all be friends, I mean, I think it's a misnomer to assume that conflicts have everything to do with which branch of Abrahamic religion one is a part of. Rather, religion is a simple way to pull the wool over the eyes of the sheeple in order to get them all to march behind you and your flag, which is ultimately what's going on, is the interests of the people who are in power and in wealth wanting to maintain it against other groups that are also in power and in wealth and have pulled the wool over the eyes of their own sheeple, and then you send your sheeple to fight their sheeple, and it's just like King Louis and what's his name? You remember what's his name? The guy who... the second guy after the Prophet Muhammad, blessed be he, the second guy to unite all the Arab peoples was against the Crusaders. Why can't I remember his name? Saladin, right? Is that his name? They were like writing letters back and forth and then sending each other's troops, you know. Never mind. All right. Anyway, what's the point? No point. There's definitely nothing to do with what he's talking about. But anyway, if it is not possible to use them together because one of them contains an exclusion, yeah, well, they all fucking do, don't they? You know, like, oh, well, the heretics, burn them. You know, oh, the infidels, oh, you know, well, put them in little ghettos and make them pay taxes. You know, I mean, Christians and Muslims historically have had different ways of dealing with the outsiders. But, and then the third Abrahamic religion that I don't want to get this video flagged by mentioning, who's, you know, it's not the religion, it's the nation. It's up to no good. Just to be clear on that. Anyway, okay, yes, if one of them contains an exclusion, we should choose the one in which the exclusion is found. Oh, you lost me. Oh, you had me for like 2 full sentences. Choose the one in which the exclusion is found, unless you mean the thing being excluded by the other one is found. Like, oh, well, you know, there's shouldn't be any chickens, you know. Oh, well, choose the one with the chickens. No, he's saying the one that says there shouldn't be chickens. Choose that one. Is that? I'll keep reading. I disagree if that's what he's saying, but whatever. Okay. If one of them contains an addition, it should be adopted and used. When neither of these is present, and the 2 verses are totally contradictory... Oh, he's talking about verses, but I'm using it as a metaphor. The verse, the universe, or the polyverse, the multiverse. Oh, someone already fucked with the word universe. Never mind. Thought I was... if one of them contains an addition... Yeah, no. When neither of these is present, and the 2 verses are totally contradictory... then the date of the revolution of each should be checked, and the more recent of the 2 should be used. Oh, that's the opposite of what I thought he was going to say. This is kind of interesting. A little bit. All right, anyway. And finally, if the date is unknown or difficult to ascertain, then we should take the one that is most apt to remove hardship in the matter of religion, and apply it. For this point of view is confirmed by the verse, quote, "There is no hardship weighing upon you in religion." End quote. Quran 22:78. Now, is that one of those things like God is all good, so if you happen to see something that's evil, that's just because your fucking stupid little mind can't comprehend that it's actually good in disguise? So all the hardship that you feel as a result of a religion actually isn't hardship at all? Is it some dumb thing like that? And Allah's religion is easy. I mean, if you mean the true religion, which of course would be Sufis, right? The Sufi take on it is when the Mahdi comes with a sword, he'll clarify to everybody, okay, no. The true form of Islam, the Sufis, right? I assume, right? Anyway, quote, "And God wishes for you what is easy, what is not difficult," end quote. All right. Quran 2:185. The Prophet also tells us, in bracket parentheses, thank you, Michelle and friends, quote, "What I have commanded you to do, perform it to the extent that you are able, and refrain from what I have forbidden you to do." End quote. Okay. I mean, duh. I mean, you know, like, isn't that obvious, right? I mean, assuming that you're doing what this guy says, then you do what he says and not what he forbids you to do. Yeah, plain as day. Continuing. If the two contradictory texts are equivalent in this regard, neither should be abandoned, but you should choose to follow whichever one you wish. You won me back, Ibn. You got me back. All right, whichever one you wish when two things contradict. God is love. March around the walls of Jericho until they come down and then rape the... Yeah, God is love. We'll just go with God is love. These things contradict each other. I prefer that one. And it's newer. So we're all in the same... When a verse and an authentic tradition that comes from a single source are contradictory, and the date is unknown, the verse should be chosen and the tradition abandoned. Okay, all right. Like shades of Martin Luther there. He reads the Bible and he's like, this thing that the fucking Catholic Church has been doing for 1700, or at his time it would have been approximately 1200 years. They've been doing this for 1200 years or less, depending on the tradition. But the Bible, this is not the Bible, obviously. Clearly says here not to do that, so we should not do that. We should abandon the tradition. So Ibn Arabi, Martin Luther, exactly the same. No, have one or two things in common, philosophically. Continuing. Right. Yes. Since the former is certain while the latter is only a presumption. The former being the hadith and the latter being the tradition? I guess. Let's keep going. If the tradition in question is one that is reported by a number of authorities, then good luck. And thus is as certain as the verse. Oh, okay. If everybody does it, it's true. All right, you lost me again, Ibn. But it was the 1200s. What can you do? They didn't have the 60s yet. So, but their chronological relationship is unknown, and it is impossible to reconcile them. This is shades of Tipitaka too, like Lord Buddha saying, okay, if it's this and this and this, then this. If it's this, this, and this, but not this, then this. Except it's usually more obvious when he's doing it. I never know what Ibn Arabi is going to say. It's like flipping a coin each time. And thus, what? The chronological relationship is impossible to reconcile them. The rule is that either of the two may be chosen freely. Okay, all right. However, if there is a lessening of hardship in one of the texts, that is the one that should be preferred. I don't know, sounds like communism to me, Ibn Arabi, so I like it. Where's my little flag? It's hiding somewhere. Right. Oh, it's over there. Right. Okay. Whenever two traditions or two verses contradict one another, or when a verse and an authentic tradition stand in contradiction, whether the tradition is reported by a number of authorities or by only one, but one of the two contains an added detail in the matter of legal prescriptions, the detail should be kept in mind and followed. What if the detail is totally screwed? The balance then shifts to the tradition containing this addition, rather than to the tradition that contradicts it. However, only traditions that are authentic should be considered. Do you have an authentic-o-meter? Do they put their fingers on it and you watch the needle flow? Oh, no, that's an e-meter. Never mind. Right. The individual who follows one of the juridical schools in legal matters, but who wears a weak hadith hears, but who hears a weak hadith attributed to God's messenger that contradicts the opinion of one of the imams, the founders of the legal schools, or one of the companions, should give preference to the weak hadith and reject the opinion in question, if he is not aware of any convincing argument for it. Okay. Even if the hadith is in reality not authentic, at least it has the same degree of probability as the contrary opinion, and one should not stray from it. And most of all, one should not stray from it if it is authentic, and it is imperative that one disregard the contrary opinion of a companion or an imam. All right. So text before the opinions of people, even if those people have authority. That's the approach that I've been taking on Buddhist books. It's just going with text only. 99.9%. If the tradition is unattached, meaning that it is, there's a word, mursal, meaning that it is reported without a chain of transmission or with an incomplete chain. Right, when people blurt things out, but they don't cite their sources or whatever, or when you go to research, well, where would they have gotten something like that? It's like, nope. That book, Behold a Pale Horse? Nothing before that. That author is the one who pulled it out of his ass, right? Or stopped, mukuf, meaning that it only goes back to one of the Prophet's companions, but not to the Prophet himself. Oh, okay. So just because St. Peter said something, don't give it any credit. I mean, that's a different prophet, but man. Wink. Remember this guy? I'm not going to put him up until they mention him. I have him here ready just in case I need to but I'll wait till Ibn Arabi mentions him. Where were we? Yes, it can only be trusted if it is known that the second reporter did not hear the tradition from anyone other than the companion. Oh, okay. So, what? Okay. I mean, how can you know that someone didn't hear it from... Okay. So if Peter was hanging out with Jesus, right, and then Jesus moved on, in whatever way you want to interpret that, depending on which branch of that you're coming from. And then Peter went and said some shit like, women are inferior, Peter stuff. And then the Gnostic Gospels anyway. It's a little more subtle in the canonized Gospels. What was I saying? Then if he got that from some other guy that he was hanging out with at a different time, some fisherman, then no, right? But if he pulled it out of his own unconscious, then sure, I guess. I mean, according to what Ibn Arabi's saying about something else, about Muhammad, right? I don't know the names of Muhammad's disciples otherwise. All right. Okay. If such is the case, even if which companion it came from is not stated, the hadith mursal may be adopted. Such a tradition actually has the same status as a hadith reported by the Prophet. Weird. I mean, intriguing. Such is the case when the reporter from the second generation says God's messenger said, without mentioning the companion from whom he is reporting the hadith, provided we know that he was someone who saw the companions and was a member of their entourage, that he was certain in matters of faith, and that he was not one of those individuals who claimed that remarks not made by the Prophet could be attributed to the Prophet if they were for the good of the community. Okay. If he does not fulfill these conditions, the hadith he reports should not be used, even if it has a complete chain of transmission. Okay. In summary, it is not licit, it is illicit, if you will, it is not licit to reject a verse or an authentic tradition in favor of the opinion of one of the companions or one of the imams. He who does so commits a blatant error, and places himself outside God's religion. I just had a silly thought. We do this thing over on Divine Pymander where we go through one Greek letter every episode. So, Editor Edward, just go for it.
Today's episode is brought to you by the letter Aleph, which has its origin in the letter Aleph of the Western Semitic languages. The earliest recorded, of course, being Phoenician. Is that a West Semitic language? I don't know. Anyway, of course, Hebrew evolved alongside Aleph from the Phoenician Aleph. This is Aleph, this is Aleph, this is Aleph.
All right. So, as you can see, Abraham Lincoln has been replaced by Aleph. I wasn't there. It's the future from my perspective. Editor Edwards in my future, if you didn't know how this works. When a tradition comes from individuals about whom nothing is known, individuals who are spoken of neither in terms of disapproval nor approval, what they are transmitting should be accepted. What? It's like flip a coin, use the pendulum. The pendulum says yes. The little bit from Tron says yes. Alright, so if nobody's heard of this guy, nobody has anything to say about him, nobody even really knows where this came from, what, is it true? Yes. Oh, well, there you go. That settles that. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. Okay. But if one of them is believed to have some fault that casts doubt upon his sincerity. So this is like pro the ad hoc or ad homo. What's the... Never mind. Editor Edward, what's that fallacy I'm thinking of?
The fallacy of ad hominem. In other words, attack the man.
Thank you, Spock. I asked Editor Edward, but whatever. Whoever can answer, can answer. All right. If one is believed to have some fault that casts doubt upon his sincerity, this tradition should be discarded. However, I mean, I've got the whole Sandman series down there. I never read it when I was a teenager, but the cool kids had read it. And so, as a 40-something-year-old, I bought it, and I was meaning to get around to it. And now, I don't think I ever will. Because, ew, right? Alright, anyway. However, when this defect is not related to the narration in question, it should be accepted unless the person in question was a wine drinker or was speaking in a state of intoxication. Alright. On the other hand...
No. There is no other hand.
Thank you, Tevye. And yes, there is. Open your mind.
Open your mind.
So Quado says to Tevye, a lot of stuff happens here on Chicken Philosophy. A little bit of crossing over of genres. On the other hand, if it is known that the statement was made by someone in a state of sobriety, and that it is characteristic of the individual in question, the tradition reported should be accepted. All right. In all this, there is no difference between using the authentic Khabar al-Wahid and the tradition called Mutawatir, except when there is a contradiction between the two. As we have pointed out, God in no way obligates us, obliges. God in no way obliges us to accept what others say about his messenger, even if we are enjoined to respect and love them. All right. Next section, the problem of abrogation. I do not define abrogation as it is generally defined. For me, abrogation means that the period of time during which, in God's wisdom, a certain legal statute was supposed to be observed has come to an end. Second Amendment, anybody? No. When this period, never mind. When this period is over, there is nothing wrong with another measure in the Quran or the Sunnah of the Prophet replacing it as law, right? If this, let me take this moment to remind everybody that Sana is the goddess for whom the sun is named. She drove a chariot of fire through the sky, in the southern part of the sky during wintertime, or during summertime, to thaw everyone out. No, whatever, summer, winter. Like, the point is, when you're far enough north, then the sun, the sun leans to the south when you're in the northern hemisphere. The further north you go, the more south it is, to the point where when you go, like, up to the northern parts of Alaska, during the parts of the year where you have sun, the sun is in the south, like, basically. But so yeah, she rides her chariot of fire across the southern part of the sky and sends out her healing warmth so that the people who are dying of cold-related illnesses will thaw out a little. I guess, I don't know, something like that. But just want to point that out, because if you Google SUNNA, you'll learn all about this stuff. See, I caught myself before I said shit. Where you have to type Sana goddess to learn about her, which you should do. In fact, stop watching now and go do that instead. Bye. Now that they're gone, now we can be naughty. No, we were being naughty before, weren't we? No. Yes. Where were we? The problem of abrogation. The Sunnah of the Prophet replacing it as law. If this is what is referred to as abrogation, I am among those who affirm its existence. Affirm the existence of abrogation. Okay. All right. Right. So when somebody wanted to build a bridge, so they changed the law to allow for this thing called a corporation to exist, so that 7 guys could pool their money together and build the bridge, and if the whole thing got fucked, then it'd just be the corporation that was in trouble and not any of them individually. And then when the bridge was finished, then they'd dissolve the corporation per the contract, and then never again, the thing wouldn't spiral out of control, right? And become late stage. Based on the preceding, the abrogation of one verse or universe? No. The abrogation of one verse in the Quran by another or by a tradition is completely conceivable. So you can take an eraser to the... Surely not. Actually, the purpose of the Sunnah is to clarify that which is not clear. That which is not clear is in bracket parentheses. Thank you, Michelle. We see you. We know you're still there. Since the Prophet was commanded to explain to people what had been revealed, bracket parentheses, in the Quran, and bracket parentheses, and Michelle's in the bracket parentheses. Every once in a while he has to, cough something up. And in doing so, to speak from what God has shown him, and not from what his own ego had shown him. Editor Edward, what are we listening to now?
This is DEVO. The album is The New Traditionalists, and the track now playing is Race of Doom.
Cool. Whether the issue was Quranic or not, everything he said was in complete accord with what had been revealed. A tradition might also be abrogated by a verse from the Quran, or by another tradition. Jerry, Editor Edward, what's Jerry's last name?
Jerry, short for Gerald Casale.
Yeah, Jerry, would you, talk a bit about this kind of thing?
We were tired of old traditions. I guess we're the only ones that are. But in keeping with following our own consciences, we tried to initiate some new traditions. We're tired of the traditions of the industrial 20th century. They've been around ever since Christianity, I think. Exploitation, sadomasochism, greed, rape of the environment, genetic tyranny, by some families over the rest of the country. Actually, we're tired of them because they're so predictable and they're so boring. We feel there can be new traditions by promoting and by example and by deed new traditions, modern attitudes for a modern world, to get rid of the indulgence and self-destructive characteristics of beliefs that are no longer applicable or humane in the world situation the way it is. And so that what we are is insane mutant apes, hairless apes, that lost our connection to nature and therefore rely on a body of conscious knowledge outside of what's intuitive in our animal nature.
A lot of it is just something we had to do, and it was our duty, and we're really just responding to our genetic imperative, things going off inside.
It doesn't make what we do any less real. It's just that being self-aware puts you in a strange position. We are not, nor have we ever been, into mind control. In fact, what we are probably advocating is a mind that's pleasantly out of control. We don't think people need more control, we think they need less. We try to sift through it, not just respond to the surface. I mean, this is a corporate feudal state where the gap between the haves and the have-nots is as clear as the moat around the castle. There's a serfs outside, and then there's the king and his entourage on the inside. And I think it's quite obvious. And we now have a president who's promoting it and cleaning it up and making it happen even faster, accelerating the rate. Nobody realized, or if they did, they didn't care to deal with it, that the only way those kind of policies and those perceptions of a society could work that our president was promoting was to be more unfair to some and give more to others.
I like that clip because it kind of gives a good insight into the nature of the relationship between Mark and Jerry. Even though Mark is basically the face of Devo, Jerry is kind of the, oh, you're the one with the message that nobody understood because you made it too obscure because you didn't want to get murdered like all those poor kids at Kent University, right? He witnessed that, and then he was like, oh, protesting doesn't work. We have to be clever. So clever that nobody will understand what we're saying. No, but, I mean, it kind of worked on me. I don't know. It would be interesting to observe myself in a parallel universe where Devo doesn't exist and see how different I am, because they did have a huge impact on my youth. And part of it was identifying with being intelligent as a positive thing, as a cool thing, and contemplating a lot of the lyrics. I mean, some of them are just silly, some of them are fun, some of them are obscure, and just the act of, I mean, a lot of even Depeche Mode or a lot of lyricists who make their lyrics intentionally vague, you kind of like, it's a little bit of a mental exercise if you're like, whenever you hear the song, you're like struggling to like, does it mean this or does it mean this? Maybe it means this, And there's a bit of that in Devo, but it all kind of points in a particular direction. Listen to some Devo if you haven't already. You can see where they kind of fall off. It was sort of, I mean, they were like the first to do a whole bunch of things in the 70s, but then when like 1984 came around, they were the first to make an album that was entirely done in the computer, and it turned out that's not a good thing to be the first to do, because everybody's like, what the fuck is this? It's like no sound of any real instruments at all in this album. Fuck this album. And then they were like, well, I guess we'll have to do something besides be a band. No, they kept going. I mean, they're still actually technically they still get together and tour and stuff. I mean, they're a legacy band, let's say, at this point. I really like Devo, but oh, well, yeah, Jerry was echoing Ibn Arabi. Jerry and Ibn Arabi have one or two things in common as well. Okay, what? Replace it with another tradition, a new tradition, if you will. When we are in the presence of an illicit legal measure,
announced in a verse or a tradition, it is not permissible to refrain from following it until such point that the existence or the absence of another contrary measure is verified. The latter arriving measure should be immediately put into practice. If we subsequently happen upon a tradition or a verse that abrogates one that precedes it, or narrows its scope, or does just the opposite and widens it, we should follow what we have learned. Although we must still respect certain conditions, the chronology of the two texts should be determined, since on some occasions it is the more restrictive verse that precedes the other, and sometimes vice versa. The principle is that the last to be revealed is the one that is authoritative. And that's fascinating. So if someone yesterday reveals something, then you should listen to that instead of everybody that's been talking for the past 1,400 years, right? Cool. Let's do that. When a verse or tradition contains a word that is not common in language, the principle is to accept it with its meaning in the language of the Arabs. All right. If the lawgiver used the word in a sense different from what it might normally have in everyday language, like, for example, the words salat, prayer, wudu, ablution, hajj, pilgrimage, zakat, legal alms. Is that like taxes? Legal alms. The meaning to be taken is the one the lawgiver explained and established. If at some later point a tradition containing the word comes along, using it with its common meaning, such an interpretation for the word in question will be restricted to that particular tradition, not to be extended to other uses of the same word in contexts where the lawgiver had given it a different meaning. So, for example, if someone says that you should lick a praline, for instance, you assume they're talking about the nut. Then later, someone comes from France, then you call it the French licking of the praline. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you don't. Le praline. It's slang. It's like clitoris. Everything the law establishes in the form of an order should be understood as belonging to the category of obligation, and everything it establishes as a prohibition should be seen as belonging to the category of forbidden, unless the context tends to make what is formally, in bracket parentheses, hi Michelle, an order slip, and bracket parentheses, an order slip from the category of obligation into the category of recommended. The 10 recommendations. Thou should probably not kill, never mind. Or simply licit, or legal, or what is formally a prohibition from the domain of the forbidden slip into that of the simply blameworthy. See, Lord Buddha codified all that early on. It's like, this, you get kicked out for. This, we all look at you funny and make you sit over there for a day. Like, okay. Right. Conversely, when the order entails no context that allows it to be interpreted as being actually a recommendation or a permission, what it prescribes is absolutely obligatory. Okay. As it is also the case for what concerns prohibition. As is also the case. The possibility for such an interpretation is explained by the fact that, all of that was in bracket parentheses, occasionally, for example, the purpose of an apparent in bracket parentheses, command is simply, the thing with the bracket parentheses is they change the meaning of what's being said. I mean, it would mean something else if the bracket parentheses weren't there. So what are you doing, Michelle? Are you making it say what you wanted to say? Is simply to end a prohibition and not to make something obligatory. I know, maybe somebody's, some advisors, and it's like, your French-speaking audience will misunderstand this unless you add these words, because that's, when you're speaking Arabic, that's what it means to say command, is an apparent command. Anyway, the last section we'll do in this episode is very short. Consensus. Consensus refers solely to the common thinking of the companions after the death of God's prophet. What takes place after their time is not a consensus upon which decisions regarding legal questions can be based. Wouldn't that have been nice? Consensus exists when it is known that a problem was submitted to each of the companions, and that each handed down a judgment on the issue that was in line with the pronouncements of the others, to the point where each had dealt with the question, and each offered the same opinion on the issue. Wouldn't that be nice, ever, in any context, anywhere in the world, at any time? Yeah, we can imagine, we can write fiction about, make it look like Star Trek. Oh, they get along so nicely. Imagine there's no money. If it is reported that even one of the companions had a different opinion on the matter, there is no consensus. Therefore, there is no consensus, ever, anywhere, at any time. It's kind of freeing, isn't it? So you get to pick the one you want. Isn't that what he said? I think so. Nor is there ijma. Consensus. Okay. If it is reported that one kept his silence, if he abstained to vote, or if it is learned that there was a disagreement on the matter. See, Buddha had a solution for that. If you agree, stay silent. All right, everybody here agrees, so, no. If you make everybody say, I agree, no, here, I, also me, and one person's silent, we don't have unanimity. No, let's just get it. Anybody have a problem with what he just said? Half of them are like, I wasn't paying attention. I was masturbating under my robe again. Unanimous. Everybody agrees, right? Yes. Or if it is learned there was a disagreement on the matter. When this is the case, one should go back to the book with a capital B. No, not that book. Or to the prophetic traditions in order to make a pronouncement. This is the best, the most perfect way to proceed in one's search for the first meaning. And that was our reading for today. Wasn't it a reading? It wasn't infuriating. Maybe it would have been more infuriating if I had been born and raised and become cynical and jaded in that world. But looking from the outside, it's just more of a curiosity. But I do find that I come around again and again to the fact that I'm really glad that I'm reading the Vinaya Pitaka. I mean, Pymander is reading the Vinaya Pitaka in 6 out of 10 episodes, now 5 out of 10 episodes, because we just added Nagarjuna to the Buddhist books clock. Check out his episode and by clicking it in the end screen, and he talks about that at the end of the episode. But the whole episode's good. If you watch this whole thing, watch that. It's better than this. Existence Time. Zen Buddhism Part 18 over on Buddhist Books Podcast. What's my point? The point is, when you're born and raised in a society with elements of whatever religion it is, in my case Christianity, then you learn all the mundane, stupid, day-to-day, low chakra, low vibration, the rules and, don't do this because that, and okay, you're supposed to behave this way. Oh, am I? Well, what if I behave that way? Well, everybody will look at you and say, why is he behaving that way? He should be behaving that way. Oh, well, fuck them, And so you get into this kind of contrary to the man, contrary to the low vibe, aspects of your society, in whatever place and time. But then someone comes along with Buddhism. Oh, what's that? Oh, it's just, let go, man. And that's enlightenment, man. And you're like, wow, that sounds great. But also, he had a bunch of rules and a bunch of low vibration stuff too that, is different from and has things in common with the ones that you might be used to. For example, the whole thing about monks keeping it in their pants. It's like, So if you disagree with that there, then when you find that that's over there, then you can either close it off. Well, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in this. This was well, the Buddha didn't say that. Well, no, he did. That was his whole thing. No, well, like, yeah, but and then someone comes along and offers, oh, but Vairocana Buddha came from space, and he told, Vajrasattva that, it's like, you don't have to keep it in your pants. Oh, okay, well, I'm a tantric Buddhist, and so that's how white people who grow up Protestant end up following the Dalai Lama around. It's just sort of math, What are we talking about? I don't know. No, the Vinaya Pitaka and this part of Ibn Arabi's stuff. For those who haven't been paying attention to all 77 episodes of Meccan Revelations, he's not always talking about, like, legalistic legalese. In fact, we've spent the past, 8 episodes with the introduction preparing us for this. So, I don't know if it's going to be the whole second book. I hope not. I don't think it will be. He'll move on to something surely more interesting than his interpretation of legal matters. But it is interesting to hear his interpretation of legal matters, especially knowing he had a big effect. Not just within Sufi communities, but within Islam as a whole. It's interesting to think that if they run into a contradiction, then this might be, a guide for how some folks would ascertain not necessarily the truth, but how they're going to run their society. So there you go. Fun stuff. If you have a really loose definition of fun. If you're in a state of pure transcendence where you go, oh, dog shit, how fun, No, I'm not comparing this to dog shit. I'm just saying that they're both kind of operating on the same level. Dogs got to shit. And, societies have to have laws and interpret their pharaohs or prophets or whatever. All right, we did it. We completed the 15th out of 15, and for a minute there, I was thinking, all right, I'm going to come out with the metaphorical 15 right after this, and we'll put it. I think we're still going to do that, right? The metaphorical 15 compilation is going to be down here, and Pymander's Buddhist books, part 318, or Zen Buddhism, part 18, Existence Time, Uji, so good. Is going to be up here, so you get to decide which one you want to click, and this concludes the metaphorical 15. The next time you see this face, it's going to be sans clothing. Sans... Gwydion wears this one. I wear both of them, and this. So, it's going to be Edward. Edward just wears what Edward wears. Although he's developing a bit of a uniform with the kata and usually mala beads and whatnot. Anyway, what are we talking about? And the glasses, of course. All right, wishing everyone the best. I hope that you had fun on whatever level. And look forward to seeing you when I'm Edward and you're listening to me do Carl Jung Part 100. That's what's up next on Chicken Philosophy is Carl Jung's Black Books Part 100. That's kind of a big deal, right? That's divisible by 100. Until then, take care.